it will go to a circular economy first, and then it will go to a restorative economy. And the book to read, I think in books quite a lot, is Ministry for the Future. And there's two elements that you need to consider. So first of all, our economic model is broken. GDP is a perverse metric. And the example I always get is that when Katrina destroyed New Orleans, the GDP in the United States went up. That's not a way to calculate impact. And there are already some models. There is the donut model, I'm sure you're familiar with. There's also Buddhist economics. But you can expect that, first of all, space will become important because that's the only way where you can actually create growth. And I am taking a bet that we will develop some kind of coin where restorative economics will be rewarded, and it will probably be government driven. Next slide. So these are the principles. I don't have to, so it's zero design. So everything that's going to be designed in the future, I would suspect will have to be completely zero impact and completely closed loop. And it will very likely to be based on natural systems. So the big thing to follow is biomimicry. We have, I think that the perverse example that I know of, we're at the moment developing artificial leaves. Now, I think that's the dumbest thing ever. So we're spending billions on artificial leaves. Well, we actually have pretty good leaves working at the moment. And if we would spend that money on this, all that money spent on planting trees, we'd be doing really, really well. And I think more and more of the solutions will be nature-based. Next slide. So we're moving from linear to circular. That will have massive impacts on the supply lines and the value chains that you are operating in. So you need to map where you are. And I think the next channel is then how does it translate then into restorative economics? Next. And fundamentally, and I got that question yesterday at a session, at what stage will we accept that our current economic models are no longer fit for purpose? And when will we move into a different type of model? I'm an optimist. I think it's going to be 10 years. If it's 25 years, it's too late anyway, but we are fundamentally shifting to an entirely different economic system. And as a company that would embrace circularity and restorative economics, you're way ahead of the curve. Next slide. And that's it. Will I talk about the program, Brendan? Or you want to do that?
Well, go into the next slide and we'll see around which. I mean, I don't mind you keeping going if you like.
So we've done this for the last 3 years with some really good case of success stories. And we're looking for companies that are at level 6 of 8 with technology readiness. And the reason we're looking at that level is so because part of this program is access to an absolutely stupendous network. So Dave showed you the network that IMR has at their disposal. The network of Trinity College is second to none. The clients that we work with have a big network. Myself and Aideen have a pretty good network as well. So the biggest, the indication of success is us helping you to sell to some really big clients and prove your business case, and that's the main focus of the program. And so, next slide. So it's the usual program in. You have to do strategy. We focus on strategy. We do quite a lot of stuff on future trends, but all normal business principles apply. So it is your team, your storytelling, your value proposition. It's the access to the ecosystem. You also get some free money, which is nice. But if that's the reason you're doing it, you shouldn't do it because the value is way larger. And it will be a combination of some collective workshops dependent on the type of clients we're having. So this is pretty tailored, and a lot of one-to-ones where we can go into the specifics of your company. Next slide. So you will understand the drivers for circular economy. I know a little, but Aideen knows an awful lot about circular economy, and we will focus specifically, and this is what we find with all the applicants that start on the circular program, that I always have huge difficulties understanding what business model they're actually applying and what they're actually doing. So most companies are pretty bad on explaining what they do and why. So we're going to make sure that when you start getting the connections through your IMR network, that you'll be able to pitch a absolutely wonderful and compelling business proposition. And that's the main focus of the program. If you can do that, you can also do that for the investors. And this is the
I'll just
program
here. So folks, the application deadline is coming up on the 9th of June. We kicked the program off in late June, and it'll run until roughly the end of November, I'd say December. It's not a full-time program. So, and again, because the numbers are relatively small, we're relatively flexible in terms of scheduling dates for those collaborative workshops, for example. But we're looking for effectively a couple of hours a week over that period, and there'll be gaps at a certain stage over the course of the 5 to 6 months as well.
Thanks, Brandon. So look, I suppose nothing like hearing from a past participant of the program to whet your appetite and understand the value of the program. So I'm going to hand over to Eamon Galvin from No Carbon just to give you an overview of what No Carbon do and reflections on the program. Eamon?
Yeah, thanks, David. So we did the program last year. In summary, I mean, it worked really well for us. Last year was our first full year of operation, so we're building a technology platform, and it worked well because we were, starting to develop the proposition. So working with Ron and Aideen and Brendan just helped us refine that offer. But it was, we were working with clients and developing our MVP and that stuff. So it was very relevant for us because we were actually building out the proposition. If you want to move to the next one. Yeah, look, our focus is on the carbon impact of products, particularly around businesses, around the reporting and the impact on consumer demand. Next slide. Within that, there's the scope 1 and 2 reporting. We focused on, there's a number of components in scope 3, but we're very much focused on identifying the product emissions from the purchased goods and services. So this is a key component of scope 3. It can be up to 90% of the emissions. Hard to calculate, and that's where we've, using data analytics to kind of crack that problem for businesses. So we create this carbon twin for them effectively, which gives them this early estimate of what are the biggest drivers of their footprint, and then we refine the accuracy. So next slide. That's part of this is building the product, a global product carbon database, which then allows a customer to easily access that information and build out their impact. Next slide. And it allows us to compare footprint across multiple different products. So products within a category or across a category. So you could compare a physical product like a running shoe to a flight, for example, on metrics that are comparable. In this case, kilograms of CO2 per €1,000 of emissions. So, for example, by calibrating your product, you can understand how competitive is it in your space, but also how competitive against other spaces. And the next one. So, when we started on the program with Ron and Aideen, we only had a couple of clients in Europe. So we've, over last year, we've grown out that client base. So we now have customers across the globe. So that's actually going really well. So part of the program was like helping us refine, what is our kind of sweet spot in terms of the offer. The next slide, David. So, like, to conclude, I mean, the value for us was, the experienced mentors. I mean, we were building the business, so it was really beneficial to get that kind of, very practical, but also Ron and Aileen were working to kind of, what's the bigger picture? Not just how do you deliver this, to one client, but how do you scale that to other clients? So how do you build out that proposition that's more scalable and attacking a bigger market segment? So I think that's the value, building a business and working with the team in parallel. The companies are super. I mean, the earlier slide has some of the participants from last year. Jiminy Toys, Sharon Keelty. I mean, inspirational, absolutely inspirational what she's doing in the toy sector to change that. Electric Avenue on the electric bikes, Dave, that's running that. I mean, the difference, I think, between this program and other, let's say, more generic ones that are just looking at you have a good startup idea, is that they're all orientated around circular economy, sustainability. So you'll find that the other participants are also very knowledgeable. So you get the benefit of working with people that are, really like-minded. So not just functional experience, but also are committed to sustainability for whatever those reasons are. But it's so inspiring to be working in an environment with people that are also trying to make a difference. And it is a very supporting environment where the founders and the participants are looking to support each other. So look, the conclusion, I think building a startup is hard. I think in some ways building a circular startup can be even harder, because you got that extra, you're trying to achieve something that in the short term isn't necessarily as commercial, in the sense of it's not as obviously commercial, because you're looking for the market to change, you're looking for consumers and companies to change. But I think that means programs like this are all the more beneficial, because you get that extra support, and there's an element of finding your tribe when you start to work on a program like this. So, like, in conclusion, for us, for our business at our stage of development, it was really beneficial, and big thanks to Brendan, Ron, Aileen, and the others on the program. It really worked very well for us. So that's it, David.
You're on mute, Dave.
Thanks, Eamon. Thanks very much for that. And I think now we're at the Q&A session, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll open it up to the audience. Is there any questions particularly that you would like to know or ask the team here in relation to this year's new venture program?
I'd like to ask a question. I'd like to know how we managed to get two Eamon Galvins, both of whom spell their name the same way, into one Zoom call.
Yeah, can I can I introduce Sean Boyle, who's the second Eamon Galvin. I forwarded the link, and I think my name is embedded in the link. But I have had the pleasure of working with Sean on a couple of things. Sean is background in Twitter and sustainability, so huge credentials in that area. So that's the I think that's the duplicate. So
your
Sean
digital twin
is the second Eamon Galvin.
So what's second Eamon's view on circularity and restorative economics? Just to throw in a question.
I'm sorry, Ron?
What would be the other Eamon's perspective on circularity and restorative economics? So that's not for you, but it's for your other, for your twin, if he's listening or just pretending.
I'm listening. How much time do we have?
Okay.
This is no. I have to say I'm the false Eamon for everybody else in the call, but I'm no. This is such an interesting venture, so needed. To be honest, my connection, I have very few connections in Ireland. Most of them are like Europe, UK, or the US. And it's actually great to see an initiative like this actually being launched in Ireland. So apologies for hijacking your invite, Eamon, and for you being associated with me is never a good thing. So Yeah, so I will use the link wisely moving forward. But no, it's very nice to meet you all.
Hello guys, Brendan here from a small business called The Factory. We're down a side road in County Offaly. My question was, so we're in business for a while, 20 plus years, and we're looking at some new products in the circular economy. So is the course relevant to a small business like ours?
I'll jump in there, Brendan. We met in Trinity recently, isn't that right? Brendan was involved with the Design Crafts Council's Irish Business Design competition. But I would say quite succinctly to you, yes, absolutely it is. I mean, if you're developing a new product or designing a new product which is aligned with the outcomes of a circular economy, absolutely this is the place to be. You know, I mean, we're talking about repurposing and re-engineering the way we've been doing things, and an ideal example of that is a business that has a solution that is going to help us close the loop.
This is one of the few programs, because there's an overemphasis on startups, and there are not enough programs where we give SMEs the opportunity to explore new business opportunities or to actually fundamentally reconfigure their business model. And this is one of the few programs where that is actually possible, because I think we're missing out on a trick on the whole SME community, who are still pretty unaware of the business opportunities that it brings, and the business models that they're currently applying, which are bankrupt, and the business models that it will have to apply in the near future. So this is perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
I think that's a very valid point. It's called a new venture program. So if you are venturing or diversifying into a new business or a new product line, absolutely, if it's circularity related, it's you're more than welcome to apply for the program.
Yeah.
Sorry, I could maybe just to echo that, because the suitability, because I think some programs put an onerous effort, don't recognize that you're, you know, a small business looking to develop a new product. And I think the team are very, you know, there's lots of really good material and challenges as you go through it, but also kind of recognize that as a small business, we've limited resources, and therefore it's quite targeted. So I think that's actually for us was a benefit, because they kind of worked with us, I think, rather than, you know, creating a whole series of things that you have to do that aren't necessarily targeted to what's the really important questions you have to answer for an ongoing business.
That's great. Thanks so much.
More questions?
There's 2 Bernadette Cases as well. What's going on here, lads?
There's a load of duplicates and 2 Raphaels as well.
We got a lot of digital twinning going on.
Okay.
If there are no more questions, Dave, I just point everybody to the application website.
Yeah, I think so, Brandon. Yeah.
Can I just ask about the high-tech readiness?
Yeah.
We've a new company running business now the last 2 years. Eru is our brand name. Basically, we make Irish woolen products. So we make blankets, and we make jumpers and snoods and hats and gloves from Irish wool, and we get it all processed in Ireland. It's spun up in Donegal, and we've actually bought our own mill, and we're going to start scouring ourselves as well. So I don't know how high-tech readiness would we be, for example.
No, okay, forget about it. So you're completely suitable for the program.
Yeah.
So just the reason why a lot of startups are so an idea is technology readiness level 0, which particularly when you are dealing with industry partners in the IMR, is just irrelevant, because they need solutions that they can deploy. You're producing, you can make it, so you're already way beyond those type of questions. So I wouldn't worry about that at all.
Okay, great. Because say, like, there's so much potential, like in the wool sector.
I would say so, yes.
Take over from you know, like synthetics and
Yes.
petroleum-based fabrics.
Yeah.
We have a whole mill, the whole carding line, whole spinning frame. It's just to say there's so many things we could do. The other thing is like yoga mats, like woolen yoga mats. That's something we could do, like a technological one as well. But it's just, you know, to get started and get the guidance. And so,
well, I would say this program would be perfect.
Cool.
And I would say it's super interesting, because I can just imagine, even from a making your value chain transparent with a little bit of data and IoT, you could track. Anyway, there's lots. I can come up with 1,000 things, just what you could do. So yeah, you should.
I would echo that. I know Tom Watt's a big fan of yours, Lionel. And it speaks as well to something we're all very aware of, is that we probably had a circular economy in Ireland up until about 25, 30 years ago, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And it just became sidelined by our obsession with technology and growth. And so effectively, this is a great way of going back to exploiting what we used to do very well and repurposing it and bringing it back and bringing it back to a new customer base and a new kind of generation of potential customers. So when we have the domestic asset around wool that you're familiar with, and the woolen industry, it's a kind of a key part of a circular philosophy. So don't be put off by the TRL ranking. That's really more of a kind of a research innovation spectrum. As Ron says, it gives us an opportunity then to assess whether an entrepreneur has an idea that's sufficiently mature to benefit from being in a program like this. Because if they're too young or the solution is too underdeveloped, then the benefits of being on the program are fairly negligible.
Which is why SMEs, by definition, are already technology ready enough to execute and implement new ideas way beyond what a startup can do. So this is genuinely, this is a perfect program for small and medium-sized companies, because they already have the capability to produce at a standard.
I think there might be, and Lionel, nice to meet you. We have one of our researchers that's very interested in the wool side of things, but I think there might be a nice angle on, to Ron's point, on the value chain, because wool as a resource, particularly, I think its value, it costs more to shear the sheep and get the wool, that there's no residual value in the product as it is. But if you could come up with a business model from a just transition kind of piece, or the farmer is getting what the resource is worth, something like that, there's something there that I think would be very beneficial for Ireland.
Well, that's what we're doing. Actually, we're giving the farmers $2.50 a kilo, which is roughly about €5 a fleece, which they're making a few quid out of that. Like normally the price is 20 cents a kilo. Yeah. It's ridiculous, like, you know,
20 cents a kilo and 150 to ship something like it doesn't make economic sense at all. But I think that's a worthwhile project that you're on there now.
Yeah, they're actually trying to introduce breeds that the wool just sheds off them, that they don't have to shear them. Like that's how extreme it's got, which is like sad. When it's such a brilliant natural resource that we have that's produced every year, that's free, you know, to take from the sheep every year, and it's like we could do so much with it. It's so yes.
No, I would encourage you to apply by all means.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I'm just going to add just to Lisa. I'm going to go with Akaneska. Any questions before we wrap up? Dermot.
Going once, going twice, gone.
Okay. So the link is, where's the link to the form, Leanne? I don't know if you can pop that up or point people to the.
Yeah, of course. I can send a follow-up email after this with all the information.
Okay, perfect.
Great stuff.
Okay, listen, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thanks Ron, Brendan and Eamon. And hopefully we'll see your applications in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.